Hello, I'm Chris Siegle. I had to do some work on my guitar tonight, so I thought while I'm doing this, I might as well put together a little YouTube video on floating tremolos, or Floyd Rose, Kahler type bridges, and the easiest and fastest and best way to set them up. They're really one of the best bridges around. Once you set it up, they pretty much stay in tune. You never have to touch them really, no matter what you do. They really are the best. It's just if you don't know how to do it or don't know a couple little tricks, then they can be really tricky and really discouraging. So let me switch this camera around. Now that I figured out my camera here. This is the guitar I needed to work on tonight. It's an old 80s/90s shredder. One of my favorite guitars. Very old. It's a Phantom. I don't know if you could see the little ghost up here. It's really cool. But anyway, this is I needed to do some work on it. I needed to put a tuner up on the top. But as you can see, it's got a Floyd Rose on it, but it's got an older Floyd Rose. But they're all the same, they're all the same. They're all floating bridges. So if you know what I'm talking about, so this is only going to let me do like 60 seconds at a time, so I'll have to keep pressing stop and press and go again. So if anyone knows what I'm talking about, these bridges are the best bridges probably to get on a guitar. Once you have it set up, it'll never go out of tune for the life of the strings. It's really quite impressive the way they hold the tune, and that's why they're sought after. However, if you don't know the couple little tricks to setting it up, you run into a couple of problems. It's floating, because as you can see, if you take the bar here and you go forward, you can drop the strings tone by pressing it this way, or you can raise the strings tone by pulling it back. So it's kind of floating here in the middle. And the reason it's floating is you have the strings here keeping tension this way, towards the neck of the guitar. And then on the back, of course, you have springs keeping the back of the block pulled, keeping tension the other way. So the bridge is constantly floating, constantly battling the tension of the strings and the springs. These springs here are held in by this bracket. And this bracket's held in by two screws that are pretty long. They go pretty far deep into the guitar. And 3 springs is usually the standard. That's enough. But as you can tell, this is the bottom of the Floyd Rose. It's keeping the tension pulled this way, which is in struggle with the strings pulling it backwards. So this presents a problem. If anyone knows or has ever owned one of these and had problems with them when I was younger, my first experiences with them were so frustrating, and I hated them because I just didn't understand how to set them up. Because it's constantly in tension between the springs and the strings. If you break a string, then the springs have all the tension and pull the back of the bridge down, which makes all the strings go up in tone. So then if you go to change the string, when you do that, then if you don't know these few little tricks, then it's useless. No matter what you do, you cannot get it in tune, because as you tighten up this bottom string and you get it to the E string, that's pulling up on the bridge like this. And so every time you tighten one of the strings, all the other 5 go down in tune. So then you have to tune up every single one at a time. And then when you get to the end, this one's way out of tune. And then you tune this one up and all 5 drop down again. And that's what you end up doing. You can never get it in balance. It's very frustrating and very hard to do. But there are a couple little tricks that make it really easy that I never thought about till I got into the business. So I thought I would show you tonight. So let me get set up and I'll show you what I do. All right, so as you can see, I don't need to change strings. I mean, as far as like, there's not one broken. I do need to change them because they're getting old. Which, you know, you should change your strings all the time. They're like basically like rubber bands. Once you stretch them and stretch them and stretch them, they kind of stop stretching, and then they won't stay in tune. So it's good to change strings all the time. I always use slinkies, either the regular green slinkies, which is what I'm put on this. Sometimes I'll do the pink slinkies, which are smaller, 9 gauge. I should actually put 9 gauge on here, but I'm going to do 10s because I like the fatter sound. But anyway, so the first thing you need to do when you're changing strings on this or anything is you need to find the right height for your string. So I like the height that it's at now on mine. I can pretty much put a dime here on the 12th fret and it's right underneath there. It's the perfect height for me, again, because I didn't break a string or anything, so, and this is the way I play it, it's a perfect height for me. But what you need to do is, if you're starting out, you need to have all 6 strings on. So if you're changing strings, cut them all off, put on new strings, and then get to this point here where you can, okay, so this is what you want to do. You want to find the right height of the strings for your action. Once you get that right height, what you want to do is, let me turn the guitar. Okay, I took off the tremolo bar. My strings are at the right height. So the first thing I'm going to do is, once they're at the right height, I don't care about them being tuned or anything right now. I just wanted the strings at the right height. Once they're at the right height, I need to find something, anything, that you can put in between the back of the bridge here block and the back of the guitar. Whatever size that is, you need to find something to fit in there. Sometimes I used to use sockets, like from a socket set. This happens to be a little bit too small for that though, and the only sockets I have handy are either too big or too small. So they won't fit in there. So I found this cool little piece of metal. It's a handle, but anyway, like I said, anything will do. So I'm going to put it in there because it's the perfect size. And see, it won't come out. It stays in there. It's perfect. So I found that, and what that's going to do is it's going to act like a hardtail on the guitar, which is crucial for these. So the first thing you do, again, put on your strings, find the right string height, put your piece of metal or whatever it is in here to block the back of the Kahler or the Floyd Rose bridge. So now you've got that blocked. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screwdriver and I'm going to unscrew these screws back, so the whole tension is going to be on the front with the strings pulling back. So it's going to really be, the strings are going to be keeping this up against the back. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. So I'm unscrewing this. Do a few turns on one side, a few turns on the other. It's important to note that when you're doing this side, this end of the trem, it sounds kind of logical, but when you're on this side's loosening. When you're on this side's loosening. This is the low E side, this is the high E side. But anyway, we're just loosening these up right now. So that's all we're doing. See, Here's king. Now it's straight again. I'm loosening this side up. I'm loosening this side up. This side. So I've backed it out quite a bit. The springs are pretty much not holding much. And all the tension keeping this back of the bridge this way are the strings in the front pulling it that way. So if I turn it around, the strings are pushing it this way, which is pulling up on the bridge, which is the back of the bridge is going like this towards the back of the body of the guitar. And that's where that block is. It's right back here. So now I basically have a hardtail guitar, which is what you want. Now you can work on your strings. So in this video, we were saying if you needed to change all your strings, you would cut them off, put on the new strings, tighten them up, just enough to find the height of the string that you like and the height of the bridge. And then you find that piece of metal and put it in there to block it up. You back off the springs, and here we are. We're ready to go. All right, so the first thing I always do after I've got everything set and the strings on is these are your fine tuners right here. So what I do is I back them up to where they're in the middle. So if you look under here, I don't know if you can see, I like to try to have as much space here as I do underneath on the screw, because on these tighteners they adjust the tension and the tune of each string, fine tuning, and you want to have just as much loose as you do tight, so you want to have these just centered on the thing. So all I'm doing is centering these right now. That one's good. That one's good. That one's good. I'm just making sure there's as much room on the top as there is the bottom. Making them kind of even. So now there they are. They're all straight, up and down, enough room on the top and the bottom. So once I've done that, now I can tune my guitar and work on the strings. So I'm already at my tuners in the middle. I should have my locks here loosened up. Again, because you just changed your springs, so you need to make sure they are loose. And then we're going to proceed with tuning the guitar. Alright, so I'm going to tune the guitar pretty much the standard way, using the tuning pegs and not the fine tuners. You're not going to touch the fine tuners till the end. So I need to find a way to hold this. There's an E. So I'm going to just get them close. There's an E. There's the A. Yep, there's the next one, D. There's the D. There's the G. Okay, again, I'm just doing them kind of approximate there. And finally the high E. Okay, so that's close enough. And then what we're going to do is we're going to stretch the strings. If you guys don't know what that is, this is something you need to do. Otherwise, again, your guitar won't stay in tune for the first month or so. Basically, you take these 3 fingers and you go under the string. Then you take your thumb on top of the string and you push down. So I'm going under the string. I take my thumb and I push down. And I do that gently, not really hard, but gently, all the way up the fret and back down. And I do it again. This stretches the string so it'll stay in tune. And then I go up to the next one. And I do it twice. Crucial to do. Okay, crucial. Up and down. Up and down. Each string. Twice. Okay, final string. Up, down, up, and down. All right. Now when you go to tune it again, they're going to be a little bit lower. E. Okay, so there's the E. There's the A, D, and this you want to get really close to accurate. And again, you're using the tuners up here, you're not touching the fine tuners. Double check it. All right, so it's tuned. It's in tune now. So right now what you got, to recap, you have your strings at the right height. You have your fine tuners set in the middle, top and bottom there. And you've got the strings on and tuned. It's a hardtail right now still, but that's what you got. All right. So now I turn the guitar over. I have my piece of metal in there and I get the strings all, or the springs all loose. The strings are holding it on. Everything's in tune. So I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start tightening these screws. I'm going to do a few turns on the top, a few turns on the bottom, a few turns on the top, a few turns on the bottom. I'm just going to keep doing this slowly, each side. And again, this side on the top here is the low E string. This on the bottom is the high E string because we're looking at it from behind. So I'm tightening. I'm going to lift this up a little bit there. Tighten. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep tightening this till this is really loose and falls out. And there it goes. So did you see it fall a little bit? And now it's down. Now, here's the tricky part. It should be right about in tune. I'm going to turn it back around. Going to look it up. I'm going to hook it up to the tuner. And here's where the little trick comes in. I'm going to check the tune. Low E. It's a little high. High E is a little high. That means I've tightened it a little bit. The high E is almost right, but the low E is a little bit high. So here's the trick. I'm going to turn the guitar over again. And my guitar, my camera. So really the gist of what I'm doing here, and you can't see, is I'm going to hit the low E string and then I'm going to tighten that screw or loosen it till the low E string is in tune. So I'm going to tune it actually by these two screws because they're really close, but I'm going to tune it. So I'm going to hit the low E string. Again, it's a little high, so I'm going to back it off just a hair. And see how it goes back into tune there? There. And then I'm going to check the high E string. And the high E string there is in tune. So I have the low E string and the high E string in tune. That's it. Okay, so I'm just going to turn the guitar over. That should be it. I'm going to unhook the tuner here. And that's it. So now it's floating again. I've got these in the middle. I've got the perfect tension on the springs versus the strings because it was in tune by those two screws. That was the little trick. And then I'm just going to tighten these up here. And then from now on, use the fine tuning to tune. The guitar is all set up and in tune. The strings are stretched. Everything's perfectly set up on it now, and it will never go out of tune. No matter what. If you bend it all the way down, all the way back, you know, as long as those screws are up tight and you have good strings, this is going to stay in tune. And then anyway, that's how you do the Kahler type bridges, the Floyd Rose type bridges. They're all kind of the same, the floating bridges. That's just a little trick to keep in mind while doing it. Hope that helps. See ya.